campaign around the sad incident that took place on Bondi Beach in Sydney. And for almost 48 hours, very credible and very, very reasonable news outlets the world over became part of that misinformation campaign. The intent today is not to malign anyone. The intent is certainly not to let down anyone, but simply to highlight that when such incidents take place and without any evidence, without getting into the proofs, without a credible source, certain countries are blamed for these incidents without any verification. So there was a whole campaign of fake news around that incident. I would also like to state that it's a very, very sad incident. It's highly condemnable. The Prime Minister, the President, Pakistan's government categorically condemned the incident. And since Pakistan is a victim of terrorism and has remained a victim of terrorism for so many years now, and we actually know what it feels like, we can feel the pain of Australia, the citizens of Australia, and we can relate to it because we see this happening in Pakistan. So, as victims of terrorism, at the outset, let me condemn the Bondi Beach, Sydney incident, and also state that we express our solidarity with the government and the people of Australia. And we also would like to compliment the Australian citizen who subdued one of the attackers and saved a lot of lives in the process. When the incident happened, certain media outlets were very quick to state that one of the attackers was from Pakistan and the other one was born in Australia. There was no evidence to prove this claim. There was no documentation, and there was no verification of this claim. But somehow we know that this campaign was launched from hostile countries trying to malign Pakistan. In Israel, in India, this campaign was proliferated and posted on social media platforms as well as electronic media platforms, which is very, very sad. Because Pakistan has been a frontline state in the war against terrorism. Pakistan continues to combat terrorists. And on a day, 16th December, which we commemorate for the martyrs of APS Peshawar, the young children, on that very day, when Army Public School Peshawar was attacked by terrorists, and we lost our innocent children. So we are a country whose children have also given sacrifices, whose children have laid down their lives in this war against terrorism. So it's very unfortunate that a country whose children, whose brave children of APS Peshawar, who were martyred on 16th of December, and we were commemorating that day, on that very day, such a false campaign is run against Pakistan. And as I said, there is not even a shred of evidence, not even any reliable source which can back this information that one of the attackers was from Pakistan. And this campaign was run deliberately, a misinformation campaign. But it saddens me that very well-reputed media outlets actually fell prey to this disinformation campaign. These news outlets, media houses, which operate globally, have an editorial board. They have their systems in which information is verified. There are structures, there's a hierarchy through which this information is passed on, and editorial control is exercised. Even then, they fail to exercise the basic norms of journalism. And a country, which I said is the biggest victim of terrorism, one of the attackers they claimed belonged to Pakistan, which was badly refuted because the Indian police yesterday issued a press release stating that one of the attackers was from Telangana, Hyderabad, belonging to India. And just a few moments ago, it has been confirmed that his passport was issued by the Indian embassy in Sydney. And in fact, he traveled to Philippines on that Indian passport as confirmed by the Philippines authorities. So, I don't know why this campaign was run, but it is very, very unfortunate. And I would just like to play a small video to walk you through this campaign and how it was run and which media outlets were actually involved in it. So as you've seen, it seemed like an organized campaign which spread like wildfire, and no editorial board, no management, no reporter questioned that where this information was coming from. And one of the news outlets actually said the duo are from Lahore, Pakistan, without any documentation. Now, how is it possible that when you give a news with regard to a terrorism incident and you claim that the attackers are from a certain country or are of a certain origin, and you have no evidence whatsoever to substantiate your claim? It really saddens us as victims of terrorism. Pakistan has always and will always condemn terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. But we did not instantly react, because a responsible state acts like a responsible state by actually verifying information. And how is it that the Indian government did not know that these people were of Indian origin or had an Indian passport or were Indian citizens? Every country has a national database through which facial recognition feature, it can be easily identified to which country a certain individual belongs to. There are retinal scans, there are fingerprints, there's facial recognition. There's so much technology in the world now that any database would have revealed where they were from. But unfortunately, there was a vicious campaign to instantly say that one of the attackers, the father, was a Pakistani national, just because he had a name which is common in certain parts of the world. That is not enough. Having a name is not sufficient evidence to pin the blame on Pakistan. And you know, I appreciate how the Australian authorities have conducting themselves very, very professionally throughout the investigation, despite this vicious campaign which was run all over the international media. They did not cast any aspersions in this regard, and they actually waited for this information to be verified. And now it is clear that the attacker was from India, he migrated from India, had an Indian passport, traveled on that passport, the Indian embassy in Sydney issued that passport. Now, my question is, and I think I have this right to question, that who's going to cover the damage that was caused to Pakistan through these fake posts and false information? How do we go back to the position before the Bondi Beach, Sydney attack? Should we initiate legal proceedings? Should we request for an apology? Or will it just be part of history as a campaign based on absolutely fake and false information to malign Pakistan? And we've seen acts of terrorism elsewhere in the world. The murder and assassination of Harjeet Singh Najjar in Canada is one example. We've seen transnational assassinations taking place. We've seen this incident. And we know that India supports terrorism in Pakistan. Time and time again, the DG ISPR, myself, we've placed evidence before you that the terrorism incidents taking place in Balochistan, the incident of terrorism taking place in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they have Indian funding, Indian backing. And there is irrefutable evidence to prove that. In addition to that, whenever the Afghan soil is used for attacks within Pakistan, somewhere there's an Indian link. And the Afghanistan government, which is cozying up to India these days, what is the main reason behind that? Do they have any bilateral trade? Do they have other areas of mutual cooperation of great potential which they want to realize? But there is irrefutable evidence of Indian terrorism taking place in Pakistan. And they've not only funded terrorists in Pakistan, they've been behind the planning of terrorist attacks in Balochistan and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Now, a country which has been suffering from terrorism since more than a decade, we've laid down lives. Our soldiers, our jawans, our officers, our children, our professionals, our security personnel, our police, every segment of society has played its part in countering terrorism. And we continue to fight this fight because we believe that we will be able to eradicate terrorism. And after so many sacrifices, to have this campaign run against Pakistan is really unfortunate. And a country from where this campaign originated, and most of the Indian outlets who aired this news without verification, they had no right to do this. Because their country is supporting terrorism and we are fighting terrorism. That's the difference between India and Pakistan. They've been behind most incidents of terrorism. And we've presented evidence time and time again. So I just wanted to highlight this vicious campaign against Pakistan in which certain media outlets tried to malign Pakistan without verifying the information. And now that we have credible information, irrefutable evidence, coming in the form of a press release from the Indian police, coming in the form of the Indian passport being issued, coming in the form of the Philippine authorities confirming that this individual, the attacker, traveled to Philippines on an Indian passport. Now, how do you vindicate Pakistan in this? How do you say that we're sorry and this shouldn't have happened? But we are very sensitive on this issue because we've laid down more than 90,000 lives in this war against terrorism. And every other day, we continue to combat these terrorists. The Islamabad court premises case, the district court case, the handlers were arrested. I held a detailed press briefing on that, establishing an Afghan link and telling you how that attack was carried out. So where Pakistan stands for peace, Pakistan will always promote peace, and Pakistan will always condemn incidents of terrorism, but it is the responsibility of the media to act responsibly and pin the blame where it lies and verify the information and then disseminate it to the world at large through social media platforms, through television screens. And I think when I mention Hardeep Singh Najjar, when I mention these transnational assassinations taking place around the globe, that just shows you the true face of the Indian state. And the incident the other day where Chief Minister Nitish Kumar pulled down the veil of a Muslim woman, that just goes to show the mindset that is prevalent in that country with regard to extremism of any kind. So their society is absolutely disoriented. They don't have any narrative to sell to the world. They don't have any story to tell to the world. And all you can find within India is extremism of every kind being promoted. Because you have a government which believes in extremism, which believes in suppressing the minorities and their rights, and promoting terrorism and promoting extremism. That's it from my side, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be open to taking questions to this particular topic, relevant to this topic. Yes, please. Either of you.
So you were speaking about disinformation. Oh, sorry.